How's it going, my fuse? It is now time for the Hell in a Cell results / highlights breakdown and review. So let's kick this off. The show started off with the pre-show, which was John Cena coming out for an interview with Michael Cole, where Cole would ask him some question that the WWE Universe, asked John Cena on Twitter. He got asked a couple questions like, did he pass the torch to Ryback? He said he just wanted to see what Ryback could do at Hell in a Cell. He was also asked if he was in the championship match against Ryback tonight instead of CM Punk. Does he think he could beat Ryback? So Cena then decides to ask the crowd what they think, and if they think Cena can beat Ryback. And then the crowd cheers. It's like 98% cheers, so most of them are cheering for John Cena. But he says it's a mixed reaction. And then he asks them one more time. They even start chanting yes, yes, yes. But he says it looks like we have some Ryback fans in the crowd. So I guess he's trying to put over Ryback. But so he answers a couple questions. And then Dolph Ziggler, has a talent for John Cena in the Titantron, where he says, why doesn't John Cena admit what he did with AJ? Or is Dolph Ziggler the only real man in the WWE? And then Cena calls out Dolph Ziggler for a fight. Dolph's music hits, but instead Vicky comes out. And Vicky says that Cena's just mad because he got his hand caught in the cookie jar. And then Dolph Ziggler, tries to attack John Cena from behind. Cena goes for the AA, but Dolph Ziggler slips out and runs out the ring. And that's pretty much it for the John Cena portion of the pre-show. And then you have them just hyping up, the other matches on the card. We then get an interview with Sheamus. Talks about tonight's match and how it's his biggest match yet. And that, while he's an underdog, his bite is bigger than the Big Show's bark. He then closes the interview by saying he's got a bro cake with Big Show's name on it. And then we move on to the actual show, and the match to kick off the show is Randy Orton versus Del Rio, and what a match that was. Great match. Del Rio really worked on Randy's arm in the matchup, his left arm, and towards the end, you had the referee kind of distracted, so Ricardo, who's on the outside, he grabbed Randy's arm and shoved it towards the post, and then Del Rio took advantage of that and put the cross arm breaker on, and it looked like Randy was about to tap, but Randy actually managed to counter that into a pin, but then Del Rio kicked out, and then eventually, Del Rio Irish whipped Randy into the corner or something like that. Randy basically was in the corner, and Del Rio went for his corner running enzuigiri. He went for that. Randy ducked, got out of the corner, so Del Rio decided to just smoothly transition that running enzuigiri in the corner by jumping on the turnbuckle and trying to hit the enzuigiri from there, kind of like when Rhodes jumps, springboards on the ropes and hits, his enzuigiri, or his kick, whatever. So Del Rio jumps on the turnbuckle, goes for the enzuigiri from there, but Randy counters that into an RKO. It was a sweet counter. Randy goes for the pinfall and wins the match. Great match between the two. Definitely, a good way to kick off the show. And then we get an interview with Vicky. She keeps talking about the AJ situation and says that she was sent evidence, for the whole thing. And she then gets stopped by Paul Heyman, who tries to convince her to not have Punk face Ryback tonight once again. She says, Punk is afraid of Ryback. Paul Heyman gets mad, starts yelling, says Punk isn't afraid of the boogeyman, Frankensteiner, blah, blah, blah. And he eventually calms down and says Vicky's doing a good job, but not to mess it up. And then we get the Tag Team Championship match. Kane and Daniel Bryan come out first, and then Cody and Damien Sandow come out afterwards. And they have microphones, and they say by the end of the night, they'll be able to say that we are the tag team champions. And, they said it about 3 times or so to, mock Daniel Bryan and Kane not, cooperating or whatever. And then we get on to the actual matchup. It was a pretty decent match, and towards the end, there was a lot of arguing between Daniel Bryan and Kane because Daniel Bryan tagged himself in and then went for the diving headbutt onto Cody. And went for the pinfall for the victory, He tried to pin Cody, but Kane took him off. Cody was mad that, I guess, Daniel Bryan tagged himself in. Eventually, they're outside the ring, still arguing. And Rhodes and Damien Sandow go for a double baseball slide from, outside the ring to the from inside the ring to the outside of the ring to try and hit both Daniel Bryan and Kane, but they miss them. They don't even hit them, but Kane sells it, and Daniel Bryan doesn't. Oh yeah, and I forgot to point out, the reason why they were arguing, outside the ring is because Daniel Bryan accidentally hit Kane with a running knee from the apron. And then once they get back in the ring, Kane just rages and starts beating up both Damien Sandow and Cody in the corner in the ring at the same time. So the referee disqualifies Kane and Daniel Bryan. So your winners are Damien Sandow and Rhodes. Kane gets even madder and chokeslams Rhodes and Damien Sandow. And then, does this pyro, and that's about it. And then we get an interview with The Miz. He talks about Doomsday and that, he's gonna remain awesome and save the world by beating Kofi Kingston tonight. Moving on to the actual matchup. This I did not like this match, at all. The thing is, during the match, The Miz was working on Kofi's leg a lot. And because of Kofi selling that leg and, being hurt, he didn't perform a lot of his usual, high-flying moves. So the matchup just ended up being, really boring. In the end, though, Kofi Kingston, The Miz went for the skull-crushing finale. Kofi went for Trouble in Paradise. Miz Ducks goes for the skull-crushing finale. Kofi gets out of that, drop kicks The Miz out of the ring. The Miz gets back in the ring. Kofi hits the Trouble in Paradise right away, goes for the pinfall, and wins the matchup. Afterwards, Matt Striker interviews Kofi Kingston. Kofi thanks The Miz for bringing out his inner wildcat or whatever, and basically bringing out the best of Kofi Kingston. And then he says he's proud to be your IC champion. We then get a backstage segment where Kane and Daniel Bryan are arguing about that tag team matchup, blaming each other. Daniel Bryan says he didn't get pinned. Kane says it's because he saved him. They start making fun of each other. Afterwards, Antonio Cesaro comes out for a United States Championship match against Justin Gabriel. Before the match, he cuts a promo in his language. Looks like he was talking about Halloween and candy and stuff like that. Justin Gabriel then comes out for the match. I didn't really like this match either. It was okay, I guess. Justin Gabriel hit a lot of springboard moves, springboard moonsaults, and stuff like that. In the end, Antonio Cesaro is outside the ring. Justin Gabriel goes for a springboard move from the inside of the ring to the outside onto Antonio, but Antonio catches him with the uppercut. That looked pretty sick. That looked pretty cool. Antonio then just gut wrench Justin Gabriel, picks him up, and throws him back in the ring and hits the neutralizer for the victory to retain his United States Championship. And then we get a backstage segment once again with Paul Heyman and Vicky. And Paul Heyman's still trying to get Vicky to cancel the match. He comes up to her and tells her, "Thank you for canceling the Hell in a Cell match tonight against Ryback." She tells him, "Where'd he hear that?" because the match is still on. And then we get a match between the PrimeTime players and Rey Mysterio and Cara, which actually turns out to be a very great match between the two teams. Really enjoyed this match, entertaining match. And Cara, it seemed like he was injured during the match, but in the end it seemed like he was okay. Because on one of the moves he hit, his head hit right on the mat, and then we didn't see him for a while. And then towards the end of the matchup, I think at the end of the matchup, you had medical staff checking on Sin Cara and Rey Mysterio there too. But eventually he got up on his own and celebrated in the ring with Rey Mysterio. Yeah, celebrated too. The team of Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara won the match when Rey Mysterio hit the 619, followed by the body splash from the top rope onto Darren Young. We then had Sheamus versus The Big Show. The match was dominated by The Big Show, for 95% of the matchup, Big Show dominated Sheamus. And towards the end of the matchup, Sheamus actually picked up The Big Show for white noise, and he seemed like he did it pretty easily. Actually, looked easier than when John Cena picks him up for the AA. Sheamus also kicked out of a choke slam. Sheamus actually kicked out of the WMD. I think nobody's ever kicked out of that. That's Big Show's knockout punch. And after he kicked out of that, eventually he hits the bro kick on Big Show, goes for the pinfall. Big Show kicks out of that too. So Sheamus attempts another bro kick, but Big Show gets out of the way of the bro kick and right away hits a knockout punch on Sheamus. The second one goes for the pinfall and gets the victory. Another, in my view, shocking Big Show title victory. I did not expect that. I will say though, this one was a little bit less shocking. And then the one where Big Show, won the world title against Mark Henry, but still. Anyways, he wins the matchup, wins the world title, and Dolph Ziggler actually doesn't come out to cash in. During the matchup, we saw Dolph Ziggler backstage looking at the matchup through, a TV screen or whatever, but he doesn't come out to cash in. We then see Booker T backstage. Seems like he's worried about Sheamus. Eve catches up to him, but he says, he has to go check on Sheamus. And then we get Teddy catching up to Eve and tells her that, Layla and Kaitlyn have a chance at Payback tonight as they face her in that three-way match for the Divas Championship. And then Zack Ryder comes up to them dressed up as a witch. He says he's dressed as Eve. Then Santino comes and he's dressed like all goofy and he says he's dressed as Lady Gaga. He starts singing, and then Ron Simmons comes into the picture and of course says damn. We then get CM Punk going into Vince McMahon's office, again trying to get out of the Hell in a Cell match with Ryback. Vince McMahon asks him a couple questions like, are you afraid of Ryback? Are you intimidated by him? And stuff like that. CM Punk says no to all of them, so then Vince McMahon says, then I suggest you prove to everybody that you're the best in the world tonight. Afterwards, we get the Divas title match, Eve versus Layla versus Kaitlyn. Eve actually gets the pinfall victory in this one and wins the matchup. It was an okay match, actually. And then we get Big Show with Josh Matthews interviewing him, and Big Show says no more 45-second title reigns, and that everybody's worst nightmare has come true. The Giant is now the world champion, and he dares anybody to challenge him for the title. And then we get the main event, CM Punk versus Ryback inside Hell in a Cell. And CM Punk in the beginning ducks Ryback, gets out of the ring, runs away from him. Eventually Ryback catches him, and he starts beating him up. And then at some point, CM Punk runs away from Ryback, gets under the ring, and Paul Heyman distracts Ryback for a short while. And then Ryback pulls the apron off to, get CM Punk, but then CM Punk uses the fire extinguisher on Ryback's eyes. CM Punk gets a good amount of offense in on Ryback in the matchup. Ryback also obviously gets, a lot of offense in. They use the cell a little bit. It's mostly just Ryback throwing CM Punk around, throwing him against the cell, but that's about it. And CM Punk uses a cane on Ryback, which angers Ryback. Towards the end, Ryback hits the clothesline, and then he's about to hit Shell Shock on CM Punk. But then the referee's like, it's the new referee, the referee that didn't see CM Punk's foot on the ropes a couple weeks back on Raw. And the referee's like, he faces Ryback, and he's like, no. And then he low blows Ryback. So CM Punk then gets out of Shell Shock, quickly rolls up Ryback, and the referee does a fast count, and CM Punk beats Ryback and retains his championship. After the match, they quickly get out of the ring, both the referee and CM Punk, and they try and get out of the Hell in a Cell. They tell the referee on the outside to unlock the door, but he can't unlock it. He can't unlock it fast enough. They're scared of Ryback getting up. Ryback eventually gets up and chases, CM Punk and the referee. So CM Punk just pushes the referee towards Ryback. Ryback takes out the referee, but then he also takes out CM Punk and throws him against the cell. He puts the referee back in the ring and clotheslines him. And then he picks him up in a military press position and throws him against the cell on the outside. And then CM Punk gets out of the ring. Ryback follows him. CM Punk climbs the cell, and Ryback climbs the cell after him. And then he hits the Shell Shock on top of the Hell in a Cell structure on CM Punk. And no, CM Punk doesn't fall, through the Hell in a Cell structure into the ring. And that about ends it for the show. So, what did I think about the show? Highlights of the show. Well, in my opinion, the match of the night was, I like Del Rio versus Randy. And I also like Big Show versus Sheamus, especially the end of that match. The beginning was a bit slow, but it really picked up towards the end. Those two, I'd say, were the real highlights. I really liked the RKO on Del Rio. That counter was pretty sick. And I think that's about it, really. And the tag team match with the PrimeTime players versus Rey Mysterio was pretty decent, too. But as far as the rating for the show, I'd have to give it maybe like a 5 or even maybe a 6 max. 5, 6. The rest of the matches weren't really all that great. The main event, I'm glad CM Punk retains, but the rest of the matches on the card I didn't really like that much. So anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. In the comment section, tell me what you guys thought about the show. If you have to give the show a rating, what would you give it? 2 on 10, 3 on 10, 1 on 10, 10 on 10, maybe you really liked it, I don't know. So anyways, I'm out, see ya.